to record this so we can post it on the website for those who are unable to make it. So welcome to the 2017 Advocacy Summit pre-webinar. We're looking forward to seeing you all in Milwaukee, Wisconsin next week. And I first and most importantly want to thank the Wisconsin chapter for all of their help and support in putting this together and for hosting this event in their great state.
Go Cheeseheads.
Yes. So we're actually going to go ahead and mute everyone just to cut down on the background noise, and then we will okay. So we will unmute everyone when it comes time for the question and answer session, and then we will go ahead and also take questions in the chat box, and we'll answer those questions from the chat box during the Q&A session. So if you could still hear us, could someone please type thumbs up? And thank you, Jeannie, for letting us know that we're back up and running. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, thumbs up.
So for those of you who were part of last year's summit, you'll recall that it took place during the Olympics. So we kind of had an Olympic theme going on throughout the event. So this year, given that it's the start of both the college football season and the National Football League, and we're in a state that definitely loves its football, go Cheeseheads, and of course in the heart of Big Ten country, we've embraced a football theme this year. But don't worry, even if you're not a football fan, I promise that you're going to have a great time and learn quite a bit. Yes, Jeannie, I-O. And hear quite a bit about, or learn quite a bit about government affairs and advocacy, and of course, my favorite subject of licensure. So the goal of the webinar this afternoon is to give you a preview of the schedule, talk about the advocacy site tour, review your homework assignment, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jay from the Wisconsin chapter to discuss some logistics, some attire recommendations, some optional tours, and then we'll conclude taking any questions that you all have. So let's talk a little bit about the schedule. So Jay's going to tell you about an optional tour of the Harley-Davidson in just a few minutes. And that can, those that are arriving early can participate in that. But if you're not arriving early, that's fine. If you want to go ahead and meet us in the lobby of the hotel at around 5:15, we can walk over. We have a couple options. We can either walk over to the reception site, which is the Harley-Davidson Museum, or the hotel will also be offering a shuttle. And then we'll be at the reception from 5:30 to 7:30. And during that time, at least part of that time, the museum will also be open for tours. And at the reception, we'll welcome ASLA President-elect Designate Sean Kelly for a few remarks, and Gary Brown from the Wisconsin chapter, he's their trustee. He'll also give us a few remarks. And I specifically want to thank Daniel Martin and Permalock for sponsoring our reception this year. We're very, very excited to bring them into the fold into this event. So thank you, Daniel, and to Permalock. And then on Saturday, our program will be taking place at Zimmerman Architectural Studios. And we'll have a couple options for getting there on Saturday. You can either walk or take the hotel shuttle. For those who want to walk, we'll be leaving at 7:30, and then the shuttle will be leaving at 7:45. It's about a 20-minute walk over to Zimmerman Studios, and we'll also be having breakfast over there. Then the start of that morning, we'll of course have some kind of fun little introduction activity, and we'll do some programming. And then a few local, state, and elected officials will be joining us, and we'll be taking an advocacy site tour. And Jay's going to go into some detail on that in just a few minutes. Then following the tour, we're going to have a fun tailgate lunch at a local restaurant near Zimmerman's Architectural Studios, and followed by an education-filled afternoon of sessions with a focus on advocacy and licensure. And then we'll be wrapping up on Saturday around 5:30, and you'll be on your own for dinner that evening. But I know that Jeannie and I will be finding some place to watch the Ohio State football game that evening. And I've heard there's a couple other big games that evening too. So I'm sure Milwaukee and the surrounding area will be a hopping place. And then on Sunday, can have too much fun on Saturday night because on Sunday, we'll do the same thing again, leaving at the same time from the hotel, either 7:30 a.m. for the walkers or 7:45 for shuttle, over to Zimmerman Architectural Studios where we'll have breakfast. And then we're going to have a session on social media and advocacy. And then we're going to spend time reviewing and discussing the results of the ASLA CLARB Licensure Threat Readiness Survey, and followed by some fun breakout sessions. And woven throughout the 2 days will be several Pashakasha sessions where you all are going to share the homework that you're working on right now, or hopefully almost completed. And then the whole event will conclude with what we're calling the final huddle, a little wrap-up session. Next slide. So let's just quickly review your homework. I know a lot of you are working on them right now, so that's great. So what we're requesting of you is to send to us a slide that kind of shows an advocacy event that you've recently hosted, and that could have taken place at a local, state, or federal level. And then you'll have 2 minutes, and no more than 2 minutes, because I'm going to be a referee with a whistle in my hand and a stopwatch. So you'll have 2 minutes to share your work and ideas with others, and hopefully encourage them to take those activities back to their chapter. And then in addition to that, the second piece of homework is, this came from a suggestion last year, and I thought it was a great suggestion, is for folks to bring any advocacy materials that they've developed to share with others. So you don't need to bring a copy for everyone, but what we'll have is a table where people can display the material. So during the breaks, people can go and peruse and ask questions for those who've brought materials. So that's your homework assignment, and be sure to do it because you don't want to be penalized. And with that, next slide, I'm going to turn it over to Jay for the next several slides. So Jay, just give us a minute to unmute you. Jay, I think it's the 608 number. Yep. Jay?
Okay.
Oh, great. Okay, go for it.
Go for it. Okay. Very excited to have everybody coming to Wisconsin, and hopefully you all have good travels and everything. But first, I think the first thing is how to pronounce the hotel name. And it is pronounced Potawatomi. You will find a lot of the Native American groups have casinos throughout our state, and they are almost impossible to pronounce unless you've lived here half your life. So it's pronounced Potawatomi. So first thing, okay, we've got site tour. We are going to have some of our state elected officials joining us, and I do believe one of our state senators will be joining us that was at a hearing last week. If you saw my Facebook or my LinkedIn pages and posts, we had a hearing last week on 2 bills that strongly could affect our license. And Senator Jackson from Milwaukee, where we will be doing our tour, that falls in her district, and she has indicated she would like to join us. So that will be one thing. Tour highlights, we are starting out after the breakfast at Zimmerman Studios. Kurt Zimmerman, our gracious host, will tell us a bit about the building, but we'll be touring the Menominee Valley in Milwaukee. in the late 1800s and early 1900s, the Menominee Valley was about as blighted of an area in the city of Milwaukee as you could ever want to get. Very industrial, very polluted, and nearly abandoned. Now it's a shining example. It's a commercial district with Miller Park, where the Milwaukee Brewers play, on one end, and the Harley-Davidson Museum on the other. So it might be an interesting tour, because without my permission, the Milwaukee Brewers, even though they're playing out of town that weekend, they scheduled the mini marathon for that morning. So we might have to just adjust our route a little bit depending on how far the marathon gets that morning. Tour highlights. I think the biggest highlight is how it's been reborn from a very blighted area. Milwaukee is the convergence of three rivers: the Milwaukee, the Menominee, and the Kinnickinnick rivers. All three were disgusting and polluted, and now they're world-class trout streams. So you're really going to see how, when everybody gets together and landscape architects help steer the ship, a very blighted and very divided area comes into a real shining example of what good planning and good landscape architecture can do for a city. We probably won't get over to the new Milwaukee Bucks Arena, but that's something else if you want to talk about that. Our tour guide will be Dave Niski from the city of Milwaukee. He's an excellent speaker. I've heard him before because he's presented at the ASLA annual meeting, and he is very knowledgeable. He has been there from the initiation of the Menominee Valley rebirth. The other thing we're going to stop and see is Three Bridges Park, which is open, and that's on our walking tour for Saturday morning. So I think that's pretty much, that covers the site tour. Does anybody have any questions for me for the site tour?
Hey, Jay, we're going to hold all questions for the Q&A portion towards the end.
Okay, I'm going to switch to the next slide. Recommended attire.
Yep.
Once Labor Day hits, Wisconsin can be anywhere as far as weather, and I haven't seen a long-range forecast yet. It can be anywhere from the 30s in the morning to the 70s and actually warmer in the afternoon. So we'll watch the weather forecast and we'll get some emails out to everybody on what the weather promises to be. Wear comfortable walking shoes. We'll be walking the Hank Aaron Trail during the tour. So tennis shoes, walking shoes. I would bring rain gear, maybe a small umbrella just in case, but wear your school colors. That's required. Again, logistics, we'll be staying at the Potawatomi. You'll be flying in to General Mitchell Airport on the south side of Milwaukee. The Potawatomi is located in the Menominee Valley, so it's somewhat segregated from downtown Milwaukee. So there is no mass transit serving the hotel directly. I would recommend either cabbing or Uber and Lyft also have an area segregated by the baggage pickup at the airport. Elizabeth, were you able to get in touch with Potawatomi on the shuttle?
Yep, they are unable to offer shuttle service back and forth to the airport. So, like you said, we recommend people follow the instructions that you just gave.
Yes, cabbing or Uber or Lyft. And that will do it for me. Or do you want me to do the optional tours?
Oh, Jay, that's the optional tours is you as well. I thought you would talk a little bit more about the early arrivals for the Harley-Davidson Museum.
Yeah, okay. If you get in early enough before the reception, I'll be taking a group to the museum, and included in our package for having the reception at the museum, we can take a tour. You can see Harley-Davidson #1 and the evolution of the modern motorcycle all the way to this year's models. They're just breaking out the 2018. It's wonderful. If you know Susan Ashel, she had a great time sitting herself on a few of the bikes, and we took some pictures of her when she visited our chapter. It's a great tour. Also, if you are coming in by chance on Thursday night, we're going to be going to Bike Night. So Mark Kaysen, that's you. There is a Leonard Skinner cover band that will be playing on Thursday evening, and they have some really great food at their restaurant called Motor. On Friday, if you can join us in the morning, we'll be doing some brewery tours. And in the afternoon, we have a very notable architect from Wisconsin named Frank Lloyd Wright on Burnham Street, which is on the near south side. There are several homes that he had designed. They were designed to be prefabs, and those are open for tours in the early afternoon. And I thought we could head on over there in the afternoon. So get you a little bit familiarized with Milwaukee in the afternoon. And then I think about 4 o'clock or so, 3:30 or 4 o'clock, we'll head over to the museum. And if anybody would like to take a tour of the museum, I can act as your tour guide. So with that, I will turn it back over to Elizabeth.
Thank you very much, Jay.
You're welcome.
Everyone is, I'm sure they're even more excited now to attend the summit in Milwaukee. Just a quick couple of wrap-up questions or wrap-up slides before we get to the questions. Like last year, we do have a hashtag that we have put together for this event, and it's hashtag Advocacy Summit 17. So feel free to use that during the summit in advance and whenever the moment strikes you. And thank you to Audra Lofton from the Wisconsin chapter for creating a Facebook group as well. And it's the ASLA Advocacy Summit, the Milwaukee Rally. So if you are on Facebook, feel free to look up and join that group. Oh, back. Okay. So now we will unmute everyone and take some questions from the group. So feel free to either write them in the chat box or share. And just a quick reminder to not forget to do your homework. Those slides are due to Mark Kaysen today, but I'm sure if you turn them in within the next day or two, we're not going to turn them away, but we really, really appreciate them if you could get them in by the end of this week so we have time to get everything assembled before the summit. And with that, Jay and I are happy to field any questions.
I have a question as it relates to the slide. I see that this presentation is based on a certain format of slide, and it looks as though there was a template that was used. Is there a template that's available that we should use to create our slide so that when it's assembled, it all works together?
Great question, but no, there's no specific template. We'll, we might make a few tweaks to add a header, so there is some consistency in the slides, but yeah, no template, just send whatever you have.
Okay.
Any other questions, concerns?
Will we be getting an updated schedule with times and dates?
Yes. So probably, fingers crossed by the end of Wednesday, we'll be sending out the final schedule. So watch your emails for that. And we'll include the latest weather forecast, just to hope for those last minute packers like myself.
Elizabeth, one extra thing I'll add is that on the Facebook page, we will be posting suggestions for different eateries around town. So either we'll go out as, some groups on Friday and Saturday evening. Otherwise, we will have a lot of suggestions and how to get theirs for eateries while you're in Milwaukee.
Excellent. Any other questions? Who's excited for football season?
Oh, yeah.
All right, one person. Come
I
on.
think that was Jonathan. Was that Indiana is that excited about football season?
Well, being a Notre Dame fan, I wouldn't say that we're excited about this year.
That's true.
Yeah.
We're down here in Louisiana. We're excited that we actually have a place to play football now that they had to change the location from Houston. So kind of some crazy stuff going on down here around our part of the country right now.
Yeah. Our thoughts are definitely with you all right now. So, well, I know we are really excited. We think this is going to be a great event. We've got a lineup of a lot of good programs and speakers, and I know several of you on the call are also participating as speakers, so we're really excited to learn from all of you, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit from us as well. And with that, I'm just going to remind everyone to wear your college colors and on Saturday or Sunday, whichever day you feel like, both days. And we hope you have safe travels. And in the meantime, feel free to call us or email us with any questions as well. Oh, and we had the last slide. Sorry, folks from Northwestern, Purdue, Rutgers, and University of Minnesota. We did have a slide for you too. We were running out of slides in too many stadiums because, you know, we have to have 14 teams in the Big Ten. So, all right. Well, with that, we thank you all for your participation today, and we hope you have safe travels.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.